Now I want to share some of my favorite tools for bag making. And I'm not one to spend money on gadgets that I don't need, so I really only want to share with you things that are actually going to make your life better when you're trying to make your first bag. Let's start off with a rotary cutter and rulers. Specifically, I love the brand Creative Grids rulers because I love that they've got some grippy little bits on the back of them, which means that they don't slide around on your fabric. This is a 19.5 inch square. Oh, sorry, it's 20.5 inches. And it's the biggest square ruler that I think they make. But this comes in really handy when you're cutting out a bias binding square that is 19 inches large. This was a splurge and I love it. I am never sad to have an enormous square ruler. So that's one thing that I would recommend. My second favorite ruler that I use all the time with bag making is this one that measures 12.5 inches wide by 24.5 inches long. And they call this one the Big Easy. And yes, accurately named. This one is going to make cutting out the bag pieces much easier for you because there are definitely some sections that are 10.5 and 12 inches wide. And my old ruler that I would use, which was 24.5 inches long, but only 8.5 inches wide, just couldn't quite get the job done. I used to always have to use 2 rulers in order to figure out the length, but I tried this at a recent quilt retreat and I'm never going back. You'll have to pry this out of my cold dead hands. I love the Big Easy ruler. Again, not necessary, but definitely going to make your life easier. Next up, quilters binding clips. I've got a ton of them and they all fit in this cute little pouch. This is actually a pattern by my friend Caitlin from Knot and Thread Design called Hello Pouch. And this is the smallest of the sizes. So I think when you buy the pattern, you can make it in a bunch of different sizes. This is the smallest one. And I love that it uses the leftover piece of quilted fabric that I used from a different bag that I made. So I've got a ton of them. You can never really have too many, I wouldn't say. And in my shop, I sell them in packs of 60 like these ones. They're cute, they're practical. You're going to use a lot of them when you're making bags. So if you don't already have some, I would recommend getting some quilters binding clips. Next up, craft scissors. You're going to need some large-ish scissors that you're not afraid of cutting through things like zippers and batting and soft and stable and thick layers. These are my absolute favorite and you can't buy them. So I'm sorry about that, but these are from LDH. They're a Canadian scissor company. These cost like 15 bucks. They're indestructible. I use them all the time and I check their website almost every day to see if they have them back in stock and they never do. But if you have a large pair of sturdy craft scissors, those are going to be very helpful for this project. Next, you're going to need some sort of a temporary marking tool. I love my Soline air erasing pen. It makes a dark mark and it disappears very quickly. So it's really great for things that are very temporary. You couldn't leave this mark on a bag and then come back 24 hours later because that mark would definitely be gone. It might be gone in 1 hour. It's already disappearing from my hand. It's magic. I don't know how it works, but I love this little pen. And so I have this available in my shop as well. Alternatively, you could use something like chalk or depending on the fabric that you're marking, like say you had really dark fabric, that dark line would not be easy to see. So instead I've got this other one from Soline that has a green tip in it. And so you can mark on dark fabric and this shows up on there. Other people use chalk. Whatever works for you, works for you. You'll need some kind of a temporary marking tool. I would also recommend using needles that are thicker than you would typically use when you are quilting. So I have these Schmetz universal needles that are in size 100/16. And I use these when I'm making bags and I rarely ever have skip stitches. They're strong, they're not very expensive. I have these available in my shop as well. This is just one big commercial for my shop, I guess. But I wanted to make it really easy for you to make a bag. So if there are certain tools that you need, I don't want you to have to go shopping in 7 different places to find all the things that you're going to need. Next up, glue. Elmer's school glue. Although this says glue all, it's not, I guess it's not Elmer's school glue, but just white glue, dollar store will work just fine. We're going to be using this during certain parts of the bag assembly, and we use it for bindings mostly in order to get crisp looking bindings so that you can set them aside. So you can glue them, set them aside, and then come back to them later. So that's why I love glue. kind of going hand in hand with glue is this amazing tool that you have maybe never seen or tried or used before. This is a stiletto tool, and you know that it was my girl Annie that made this. She said that it took her 2 years to develop this tool, and I believe it because it's really practical. It's a very lightweight tool that is mostly made out of wood, and then it has this very scary, very aggressive, pointy end on it. It will pierce your skin. Ask me how I know. You could really hurt someone with this tool, so you have to be careful with it. But she's got, the metal part here is ground, so it's kind of aggressive and grippy. So when you're using it to hold fabric in place, as you're feeding it through the sewing machine, this really does hold it in place. Annie thought of everything. It's got a flat side, so it's not going to roll off your table. It's going to stop itself. And then on the other end, this is a pressing tool, which we are going to be using, or I'll be showing you how I use it when I make the bias binding. So I love the By Annie's stiletto and pressing tool. And this is what it looks like in a package. And you know I have it in my shop as well. I love this tool. I didn't know that I needed this until somebody gifted to me this tool, and now I never want to make a bag without one. And then lastly, this is something that is really optional, but I think you might enjoy using it. It's a magnetic seam guide. So this tool is going to magnetically clip onto or magnetize onto the bed of your sewing machine right next to your needle. So if I say sew a 1/4 inch seam, you could use your hands and try and guide it to make a perfect 1/4 inch seam, or you could clip this onto the bed of your sewing machine, line it up with where a 1/4 inch is, and then just push your fabric up against this guide as it gets sewn through and underneath the needle, and you'll end up with a perfect 1/4 inch seam. I don't sell these, but you can find these at any big box store. They're cheap. They're incredibly practical. And if you're not using one of these to attach the binding to your quilts already, this could be a game changer for you. Okay, so those are my favorite tools that are going to make bag making much more pleasant for you. And if you have any questions about any of the tools, or if you're wondering about anything else, just put a question in the comment down below, and I will be sure to answer that for you.